Hi, Ryu. It's such a pleasure to have your participation for this conference. Thanks for accepting to share some of your work, experience, and knowledge with us. Um, so you are a multidisciplinary.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
no,
having me.
it's just a pleasure for us. You're a multidisciplinary artist and a well-known 3D sci-fi concept art producer within the Blender community, right? Um, could you please tell us a little bit about yourself, about your professional training, um, and then how did you manage to become the this main reference for the hard surface modeling Blender community?
I don't know if I'm a main source of reference for Blender, but I'm just trying to have fun with 3D. I started about 20 years ago in Japan. I was already in Japan. I moved from Europe and I started to study Japanese calligraphy. And I was studying Japanese calligraphy for about 16 years. Um, got up to the Shihan level, which is a master level in Japan. So I could actually teach calligraphy official in Japan if I
Okay.
wanted to. And that was my basic, that was my start with visual arts. So, it was an amazing journey. Then I started to be interested with photography, and I really, Tokyo is a fantastic place. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
amazing. And I started with architecture just for
Okay.
fun, and architecture was great. But then I discovered that I actually truly enjoyed.
Okay.
I truly enjoyed portraiture. So, once I finished with architecture, and I was like, well, architecture was fun, but let's do something a bit more challenging. And working with people is always challenging because you need to basically get into the private zone, break all the ice, and
Oh,
just sort of bring all their personality and sort of connect with them, which is very difficult, and I really enjoy it. So portraiture for me was absolutely fantastic, and I think it taught me a lot about lighting, composition, and attention to details. Because after I finished, researching photography, going completely crazy about it, I discovered Photoshop, and I was like, wow, just I
yeah.
want to do that. And so Photoshop was a massive part of my work, and I always thought that editing images gives this like a final touch, that you cannot get on camera. And I started to do composites, right? So just
Yeah.
manipulations, and started to do composites with 3D objects. So I was using plugins for Photoshop to create all kinds of sci-fi images and different concepts using my photographs. So just photographing the background and the
Mhm.
model, and then bringing some additional stuff to the picture. Doing kind of fantasy and sci-fi, usually sci-fi because that's what I
Great.
really like. And eventually, I decided that it's time to dive into 3D, because 3D, I'm a gamer, I love gaming, so I always was into sci-fi
Great.
games, and I always wanted to create something from scratch, because, photography is cool, but you're working with a model or something that's in front of
Yeah.
you, so all you need to do is find a lighting angle, and you know, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not as difficult as 3D, where with 3D you start with the
Yeah. Cool.
cube, and you need to go with a concept, you need to go with a balance, with structure, with everything really, and I think it's much more rewarding, but at the same time
Yeah.
challenging,
Sure. Sure. Sure.
but gives you more freedom because you really can do anything you want, right?
Okay.
And I started to learning 3D. I think it was June 2019, so quite recently,
Okay.
really. And you know, went pretty fast. My studies went pretty fast, but I think mostly thanks to my background, because you know I got quite extensive background in art, so that's why maybe I was picking up quickly. And you know, the only thing I needed to learn really is the techniques used in the software to create something that I wanted. But definitely having this background in, you know, calligraphy and photography helped me to envision scenes or shapes without having to sketch them.
Okay.
So that's how it started, and that's where we are
And
now.
so your interest in sci-fi comes mainly from your gamer life, or does it have another another resources or another incomes, or maybe I don't know. I might think that living in Japan will give you this whole panorama and whole scenario about sci-fi, but what could be your main, I mean, your main source of sci-fi inspiration?
I think the major reason why I started it is that I enjoy doing things that, you know, creating things that don't
Okay.
exist. And sci-fi is literally this. And you know, you are not. I absolutely hate, you know, being asked to, for example, create a tutorial on something that exists in a movie. Like, you know, could you please create a claptrap from Borderlands Game 3, or you know, something from Star Wars. I never do that because, first of all, it's boring, and second of all, it's just, it's, you know, it's just, it's not me. I want to do something that no one's done before, and this is a real challenge. And also, it's fun because you know that whatever you've created is literally your own creation in entirety, you know. And but finance was never really my motivation, because I, I never really, you know, I mean, 3D is a great industry. It's probably the biggest industry in the world
Yeah,
right now,
for sure.
and you know, so I'm in the right spot, but that was never really a motivation. So I'm very grateful that I can do this, and you know, and
Mhm.
survive. But this wasn't a motivation
Oh,
really. And my motivation is just to always create something that's basically drives me, you know, that pushes my skills further, and always trying to look for something that I think I cannot do. Because if your dreams don't scare you, you know, they're
yeah.
just too small. So I always try to do something bigger, something more challenging, and something that, you know, I'm kind of afraid of, as in like I'm not sure if I can do it, and that excites me. So there you
Okay.
go.
So, can you explain us a little bit for about the core concepts and ideas that underlie your work? You know, in the area of this concept art that you do, and this sci-fi modeling. You know, what are the core concepts and ideas that uh, that you work behind this whole modelings that you make, and well, this could be the first question, and then and the second question will be then, how do you conceive the idea of virtuality within the context of sci-fi? But let's move on with step by step. So um, what could be the core concepts and ideas that underlie your work in the area of sci-fi modeling?
Oh, that's a difficult question, because I don't think about it like that. I simply sit down and I think what I want to do. So like, I want to create a mech, and then I think, well, what kind of mech I want to create, and then I think, well, it's gonna be a war mech with, let's say, two
Okay.
guns, right? And do I want it bipedal, or I want it to be flying? What I want to do is like, you know, and the thing is, the way I work is I sketch in my head Okay, so when I see a shape, I get inspired by a shape. So when I start blocking out, I see a shape and I can build on it in my head and go in this direction, which is why I don't have to sketch.
Oh,
So I literally can envision myself, you know, I can go for a walk on a beach and I can see myself, I can see Blender window and me modeling in it,
okay. Okay.
right? So I can rotate, manipulate with objects, boolean them, whatever, you know, I want. Of course, you know, it's like, it's a bit like a dream, you know, it's kind of like flashes of ideas, right? It's not a full image for like a video like, but it's really difficult to describe. It's kind of like like a like a path that, you know, you could follow, okay, artistically. And this is how I build my models. So I, you know, I don't plan. The same with photography. I never had any, you know, I was working for like what, 8 years in photography, and I've never even once did any, you know, concepting or like writing something on the board and thinking like, okay, today we're gonna do this and we're gonna have this kind of a lighting. I don't care. I just have to see it. You know, I'm a very hands-on person. So when I see a light falling in certain angle, I can see the whole series of photographs coming, you know, coming forward,
Okay.
right? So the way I work, I don't really follow a specific concept. I simply follow my own style, because we all have a style. And of course, you know, we try to learn from other artists who are better than us, because there's always someone that's better than you, and good. Otherwise, the life would be exceptionally boring, because, you know, you have nothing to chase, right? And nothing to respect.
Of course.
But you know, like for example, there is this game, Star Citizen. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but it's still in alpha, and the game is, in my opinion, bloody boring, but the art design is exceptional. And, you know, I've spent hours running around taking hundreds of screenshots, and, you know, in this game and other games. And the way I work is, I look at references when I want to create something, and then I close the references and I just take a break, and my brain is processing, and eventually I'm gonna get triggered on some memory of a shape, and I'm gonna start building on that shape, and I'm gonna make it my own. So it's sort of like you get inspired by a tune and you create a concerto out of it. This is how it works for me. So I don't, you know, follow certain styles, or the same in photography. When people are asking, who is your favorite photographer? I never had any, because I just don't care.
Great.
I look at the work, and if I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. I don't care if it's this name or another name. I have to like it, and I literally don't care who it was.
Very important. Yeah,
And
sure.
the same way you react to music. When I listen to music, I don't care what the words say. I just want to hear the music. And the words and singing is also music. And sometimes I don't even know what the song is about. If I don't like the melody, I don't care, you know, about the song. It doesn't matter what's the text, what's the lyrics, right? I just don't care. So you see, the context for me is, I need to feel the vibe, okay? And when I feel the vibe and I like the taste, I'm just gonna follow it. Very, you know, I'm very sort of it's not very specified the way I work. So it's very exceptionally difficult to explain.
Yeah.
And the same with, it's very similar to composition in photography, okay? Because you can teach people everything, right? You know, how to press a button, how to set aperture, you know, how to shoot night pictures, but explaining the balance of lighting and shadows and form and composition is exceptionally difficult. It's very difficult to explain to people and teach them. You can explain, but teaching them is like, in my opinion, is impossible. Because you can tell them the rules, but good composition is not about the rules, but it's about knowing how to break them.
Okay.
That's a good composition, right? So when you create a proper composition and you balance your elements, and then you need to know how to break these elements to create something exceptional. And it's really tough to teach, right? So that was I think, the biggest issue with teaching photography, was teaching people how to compose images if they didn't really have the gift for it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So with modeling, the same is there's a lot of people who, you know, like, same as photography, you know, so there's a lot of people who know the techniques. They're very skilled in setting all the camera settings, or like, for example, creating very well designed clean meshes, but their design is falling apart, or the light is falling apart, or the renders are just poorly composed, and you know, you can see that. So technique is not the same as, you know, in my opinion, as a natural gift for seeing things, and then you need to really work hard to develop it, because, you know, having a gift is like maybe 4% of success, and then the 95% is actually working hard to get it, you know, to get better and better, and you always need to look up to people who are just ahead of you, and that's how you grow. And the more you grow, the more you can see, and the more you know how you need to, you know, the more you can see how, the more you see how little you really know, right? Because your vision just expands. So, you know, it's very difficult to tell you how, you know, what kind of style do I follow, or like, you know, what is my precise workflow, because I really don't have one.
Okay, now but everything you have told us far now, it's quite remarkable and very useful for and for anyone who is trying to learn and to not just to learn and to produce, you know, high quality content in this 3D visual scenario. So I have another question, and it's precisely about what you just said before. For example, well, your work is clearly quite distinguishable by the high quality resolution in every aspect. You know, from the realistic and outstanding lighting, you know, the textures, the compositing, you know, the composition in general, and all the fine details all over your scenes are very, very remarkable. So can you please describe your you just told that you cannot describe your workflow, but if you were asked to teach or to give some advices to someone who is trying to achieve these goals, you know, I mean, in this uh, about this high quality resolution uh, uh, production, how could what could you say about it?
Let's, for example, look at this image, right?
Okay.
When I was composing it, I mean, if you look at this image without lighting, it's gonna be very different composition than without lighting. Also, these two humans and the robot here on the left corner were added in Photoshop. They're not really in the original picture, right? So the robot here and these two guys are not really in the render, they just been added in Photoshop. And so, first of all, the lighting, like, if you look at this engine here, right?
Yeah.
I needed something to balance this engine on the other side. That's why I put the robot in. Also, there was a really huge open space in here with a cable sort of leading towards this you know, area here. There's nothing in except for this crate, and I wanted something in here. That's one. So I wanted to create a triangle between these 3 points, so the most extreme lights and the top and a top light, the biggest one, right? That's one. So this is gonna be a framing of my image. Humans are for the scale, of course, and these are important because they will sell the scale of the image, right? The other lights and the camera settings was done precisely. So, for example, I could, if I moved my camera a little bit to the left, these lights would be basically, they would disappear. A little bit to the left, they would disappear, right? If I moved it a little bit too far, you would see the bottom of the floor. If I move it too closely, I will be cutting in too deeply, and this light would be too high in the frame. So you see, and if I zoomed in closer, this light would be too close to the edge.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, and then, for example, you know, reflections, like, you know, this is really bright. Yeah, this is really bright. In fact, I was wondering if this is not too bright, this hook. But if the light was in front of it, that's exactly how it would look. Then again, you know, I was trying to balance this on the other side. That's why you got these lights here, you know, they pull attention back to the
Yeah.
left, right? Because your eyes usually go into the image from the left side, okay? And they will look for areas of contrast. They will look for areas of saturation, warm colors, sharpness, which is exactly why, for example, this guy is sharper than this one, because it's a foreground, you know. You can create depth with colors, like, for example, bring warmth to the front and colder colors to the back, like I did. Let me just show you here on this image. Let me just find it. See, this is one of these images
Oh.
where warm colors are in front and the blue colors are in the back, and this is all done in Photoshop, right? Just to pull more attention to the front. The same with this image here, this
Okay.
one, right? This image was built from like 22 images to create more traffic, more trains, and, you know, make the city buzz and sort of, again, you know, warmth in the front, cold in the back. And literally the same ideas in here, but, you know, maybe not with colors, but with lighting and shadows, right? So you need to, when I compose something in camera, in Blender, I usually spend an extremely long time fiddling with the angle.
Okay.
And angle, the focal length, depth of field, distance from, of the camera from the ground, and each separate render has a different lighting. So if I, for example, render something like this image, let me just go here back to my not profile here, or where is it? This one. Let me see if I have it here.
Yeah.
This image, right? Okay. This image, I have a video on this on YouTube, and I show how I set the lightings. And this, like, I don't know, maybe like 16 or 18 lights in this scene, okay? Because I have a rim light, I have lights falling on the guns, I have another light falling on the head to make it a little bit more bright, but not too bright. So the heads become a focus, but, you know, you still are sort of looking around the image because this bright spot's gonna pull you away. They both balance itself, right? It's perfectly symmetrical. And then you got these highlights on these pistons and highlights in here to define the form. So every single light and reflection has a purpose. So this took me like maybe 1.5 hours to, you know, maybe not in 1.5, but about 1 hour to set and render, okay?
Okay.
Because I was really surgically, I'm literally anal with my lights, okay? I if I'm not happy with the light, I'm gonna redo it again and again and again until I'm happy. I don't care how long it takes. So I don't buy into this idea of, you know, doing something quickly and just dropping it on portfolio so I can just keep producing other pieces. I don't care how long something takes. I literally don't care. I have one Photoshop manipulation that took me 40 hours. And it's about 1,000 layers. And I just have fun. Because, you know, if you want to create something good, you really need to put your heart into it and stop thinking about making profit or making it for I had so many clients, you know, who were, this really annoyed me. They were asking me to, you know, sending me emails saying that, you know, could you please teach me how to post-process images in the style of this person? I said, why would you want to do that?
Course.
And they say, because it's popular. I said, you see, this is not the way to grow. This is the way to regress. Because, you know, instead of working hard and developing your own style and searching, people want shortcuts because they want instant gratification. Sure. And this is not how you're going to become better. Because, you know, it's like with studying. You know, I've been studying all my life different things. And I know that the only way to progress is to just keep on studying. Sure. Right, and researching, staying interested, and if you don't like something, that it means you shouldn't be doing it. And if you do like something, that time becomes completely irrelevant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
So
So,
yeah, please continue.
oh no, that that's basically, I think that's it. I mean, that's the most important part.
Okay.
Just be true to yourself when you create
Yeah,
something.
I think that's very, very important. It's um you have you just said something very actually substantial, that if you like something, the time becomes irrelevant, right? And if you don't like, you should not be doing. That's that's so true.
Yeah, because people often force themselves to do something because they think they can make money. The same with college or university. They go to university and pick a subject because they think that it's gonna be profitable for them,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
I'm a lawyer, and I don't care how much money I could be making being a lawyer, but it's just not me, and I literally don't care. It's just I hate it. I hated it from the beginning till the end, and I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Okay.
So you really need to ask yourself a question, I think, whether you want to be happy or pretending that you're happy, right? And this is gonna be reflected in art, because art is pure emotion, and if the emotions are fake, art's gonna be
Oh
fake,
yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
So let me change a little bit the course of the interview. Um well, as you know, our conference is about space and immersivity, and the and the main thematic of this year is this kind of duality, if we can say it like that, about the virtuality of the real and the reality of the virtual. So my first
Mm-hmm.
question about that, if this is only if you have uh, think about it, if you had thought about it, sorry, but um, have you ever talked about the general idea of immersivity within your creativity or artistic process? And if so, only if so, can you share some highlights about it with us? Yeah.
Immersivity. How would you define that? I mean, immersive in what regard?
In the actual, in your own
As
personal, if have you ever think about immersivity in any way, whenever you create something?
You mean to create something that you could relate some sort of a distant
Yeah,
reality
yeah.
to? Well, composites like this one you see on the screen, right? This is why I like creating composites, because composite images, unlike just simple renders, they, yeah, I think you're talking mostly about concept art, because concept art is that is creating virtual reality, some fake reality that could be
Yeah.
real, but it doesn't really exist. So we create scenes and or landscapes or whatnot, and I do like doing it a lot. And this is like a still render, and it's fine, but it's not really, well, it's just an object, right? But when you start putting it in some kind of an environment, right, things start getting interesting. And I do prefer, creating. I do prefer creating composites, but they take a lot of time to create, so I don't always have time for it. But I love, this is why I like 3D, and why I liked a lot the photo compositing, because this is, you can create your own
Sure.
world. And if that's what you're
Yeah, yeah.
asking about, that's definitely, I like doing that. But it's, I think that this is also the best teacher, because if you're trying to imagine and create something that doesn't exist, you need to be related to your vision to some extent, because it's part of you. It came from you, unless you're repeating some other person's art, which is copying basically, or sort of altering it a bit, which is, like I said, you know, it's a waste of time
Yeah.
basically. Because there's one thing is to learn from tutorials how to model something, because you're learning techniques, and then actually reproducing what you've seen is the correct way to go, because, you know, you're trying to master whatever they've done.
Mm.
But then when you create something on your own and you're trying to copy from other person, that's just a waste of time in my opinion. So, you know, compositing or like creating your environment or some kind of a virtual reality on a 2D space is a step further, because you need to not only create your objects, your you know, your designs, but you also need to put them in certain context, right, in certain environment. And it's, you know, it's just like painting or creating really anything. It's the same thing, because it's your own virtual reality, right, emotional reality. And in visual arts we can simply relate to it much better, I think, because that's why, you know, people like photography or like seeing images, because they can relate to them in a way, because you can see something, it's tangible, right? Unlike some, you know, abstract concepts, like for example poetry, which is quite difficult for a lot of people, because they need to envision the reality that's been created with words and interpret it to their own, you know, with their own sort of mind setup, right? But something, when you see something, you can create a story in your head, or you can create some universe that's outside the frames. So I think, you know, it's a very interesting way of expressing artistic expression, I think. Yeah.
No,
Painting.
that actually that was it was the goal of one of the questions, because uh, you have just said that about these objects and these scenarios and these compositions, and it kind of becomes uh, a reality inside the virtuality, right? Well, I mean, the virtuality
Yeah.
becomes some sort of reality, becomes some kind of real, right? And this is actually what we were looking for on the topics that we were looking for our conference. So um, let's just move on, and please tell us about the Blender Bros project. So what is this about?
Blender Bros project is a cooperation with another artist and very good friend of mine, Josh Gambrell, who is an exceptional individual. You know, he's just a brilliant, not just an artist, but he's also a brilliant teacher and educator. And we together decided to, you know, got together, and we are like-minded people. We like to work hard and create a lot of stuff for others. And we wanted to create some kind of a project that will help other people to advance in their dreams, basically. You know, this is what we what was the base of the idea, and we are developing it now. We're gonna create a website with forums and portals and whatnot, and you know, platforms for people to exchange knowledge and find different sources of inspiration or assets they need, etc., etc. So it's gonna be it's a massive plan ahead of us. But the base idea was education, and you know, helping people to simply get better at Blender. And you know, because Blender is a good software, it's actually a very good software, and but 3D software is, you know, for people, for example, who come from Photoshop, like myself, you know, and they think that Photoshop is complicated, which is not really complicated, and then you're gonna jump into 3D. It feels like being dropped in Amazon jungle with a pair of scissors, you know. It's like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? It's like, just, it's literally intimidating, right? And I remember that feeling, you know, even though I'm not gonna lie, I learn really fast, and I like learning, I like studying, and I like challenges. I did feel a bit intimidated, because, you know, I saw all these menus, and I was like, you know, wow, you know, you just a bit, you know, you're a bit sort of terrified. And we just want to help them out, you know, and show them that it's not really that difficult, and everyone can literally do it, and they can just get better and better. So we're trying to create, well, we're not trying, we are creating a lot of educational materials for beginners and for intermediate people, and, you know, people who are gonna try to get into gaming industry, you know, and especially now, you know, with the COVID going on, I think this is a best time for people to rethink the way they work, or, you know, their career path. Because, you know, back in my days, you know, I'm 45, so back in my days, internet wasn't really that popular, right? And the only way to get a job was to go to an office.
Sure.
So internet wasn't really, you know, I mean, I know there was an internet, but, you know, not like today, right? Nowhere near that. And even computers, you know, forget about having laptops, you know, they were just massive, like
Sure.
bigger than cars. And computers were just were very basic at that time. And what you can do now with computers and internet is insane. The whole world could be run from computer, you know. So now is a great time for them to, for all these kids, you know, to just basically follow the follow the dreams.
Absolutely.
You know.
Okay. So, well, we are almost going to the end of this interview, but just before we finish, I would like to ask a couple of questions. For example, and this is mainly for you know, related to this project. You know, you talk about education and helping others to develop their own skills, and their to be able to create their own their own objects and production, right? So if you were asked to design, or to guide someone to design a sci-fi 3D environment, you know, that deals with the experience or idea or sensation of virtuality, what advices could you give to her or to him? You know,
Play games.
like games, for example.
I'm not kidding. Play games, like literally playing games. Play games that are well designed. They not necessarily have to have great stories, but it's all about the design at the moment, because you can make your own story if you have imagination. Because, you know, games these days are not, well, let's face it, they're a bit on the garbage side, you know, in terms of quality of writing, and they're very shallow. But the design in games, you know, in sci-fi games is exceptional. And, well, not all of them, but quite a lot of them. And if someone is into sci-fi, or someone is into, for example, fantasy, hands down, you know, forget the books, get the games.
Great, that's a nice advertisement.
Because, you know, books are, you know, I like writing books. I wrote quite a few, but I don't like reading books. They just bore me, to be honest. And it's not enough stimuli, you know. It's just, I think that it's too slow. It's just, I literally fall asleep. And it's something more interactive, you know, interactive. And games are fantastic, because you have to react to what's happening. And, you know, depends on your, you know, on how capable you are of creating your own, you know, universe, how imaginative the person is. But basically, when I play games, you know, I'm just in a completely different world. Also, it's a fantastic way of resetting, because, you know, artists, we are very moody. We get depressed, we get swings, you know. And this is a fantastic pull, because it pulls you back into it pulls you into a universe, and you completely forget what the hell is going on. And it's far, you know, far better and healthier than drinking or other, you know, dangerous activities, right? So, because, you know, artists, they go crazy, right? So, gaming, 100% gaming is brilliant. I mean, this is for developing. Because look, if you look outside, and you know, unless you live in Tokyo, which is an insane city, I must admit, it's difficult to find a sci-fi inspiration. we live in a reality of 2020, not 3020. So the only way to find sci-fi is by actually looking in or through the eyes of people who created something like this. Well, where are you gonna find this? Movies or games? But movies are not as interactive as games because, again, watching TV is very passive. Although you could gain some visual knowledge from them, of course, because building a visual library, I think, is the essence of it, right? Building a visual library, okay? So if I give an advice, I would be, just like I was giving advice to people who want to get better at photography, look at photographs that are actually good. Because nowadays we are flooded with kitsch and disappointment in terms of visual quality. Facebook, Instagram, or Instacrap as I like to call it, all these retarded websites and all these rubbish pictures that are being posted there, they just infuriate me because they're so bad. And the worst part about it is that people actually start thinking that these pictures are good. And the reason why they start thinking that is because they get used to it and the brain gets used to it. And when your brain gets used to something, you think it's a norm. And it's very dangerous. This is why we always should look to someone who is way, way, way better than ourselves.
Yeah.
And this is the environment you want to immerse yourself in. It's like learning a language. You want to learn Japanese, go to Japan. Because, or you want to learn German, go to Germany. Because that's the only place you can actually really learn it, right? Properly. You gotta get immersed completely. So disappearing into a game is a good idea. Find something that you really like, and again, doing something that you really like. So like, if you like fantasy, get fantasy games. If you like sci-fi, get sci-fi games. I'm only into sci-fi, so there you go.
Great. So one last question, and for example, as you have told us, the whole workflow for creating a high quality render like yours. I know there's a lot of work, and there's a lot of design, and there's a lot of knowledge curve that you have been through to be able to create that, right? But if you could explain to someone who is interested in this particular area, I mean, imagine that someone is willing to create an scene, a sci-fi scene like the one you are presenting to us right now. Sorry. So, well, what will be the steps, if there are, if you could describe that in that way, that for explaining these people to get to that result? I mean, for example, first first model the mesh, and model the the spaceships, and then add the textures in this way, and then work with the illumination, or not be, or before working the textures, design the composition or something. I mean, I know every piece of art is different, but can you give us a general framework?
Sure. The first thing is an idea. If you don't have an idea, don't even start. So you need to know what you want. Most of the problems I see with works on internet is that they have no shape.
Okay.
I'm saying in terms of artistic, they just make no sense. And I don't mean that they're not functional. They just it looks like a something built by a kid from Lego that he was just putting bricks together in a random fashion. Just doesn't make any sense. When you want to create something in 3D or 2D, it doesn't matter. You need to have an idea what do you want to create, right? So if I wanna, like I said, if I wanna create a ship or a mech, what kind of ship do I want? Transport ship, a warship, big ship, small ship? I need to know what I want. And the blockout phase is exceptionally important. Like we had this course with Josh, and when I was creating this Mac, right, this one, I spent maybe the first 1 or 2 videos on designing the head, because I was trying to get proportions right, and I was playing with the proportions back and forth, and, you know, looking from every angle. That's another thing, look from every angle, because it's important. You know, people often, what they do is they just design something from one angle and then it just looks awful from the other angle. So the 3D, the challenge of 3D is that it has to look good from any angle, right? So first of all, know what you want and then start blocking it out. Once you block it out, it's a really important but very difficult phase, because you need to envision what you want to build on top of that. And this comes with training and visual library. You know, everyone needs to build their visual library, and that's by basically looking at references. That's a step one, okay? Knowing what you want. Then you need to block it out, because, you know, blocking it out is exceptionally important. This is the bones. You know, without the bones, we cannot walk. It's the same thing. If the bones are wrong, you crooked. You know, you disfigured, right? You're disabled. Yeah. And this is the same thing here. These are the bones, right? The bones needs to be right. And then you add mid details, and then you add fine details. And oftentimes people add details where they think they should add something because, you know, they just feel like it. But adding details is exceptionally difficult too, because it's very easy to overload something with details. Yeah. That's why, you know, again, visual library and the references, that's why I say gaming, or like looking at some other people's work, movies, you know, all this stuff. Because your brain will literally gonna start thinking in different terms, because you'll see things that you never saw before, right? And so that's that. And, you know, then textures, you know, they have to follow the idea of what you're creating. If you're creating a war mech, you know, you're not gonna make it pink, right? I mean, unless you're from Marvels, which is, you know, there you go. But Scorsese had something to say about it, and he was absolutely right. So anyway, you know, you don't want to make it pink, you want to make it proper, you know. So everything needs to have a purpose and sort of make sense in terms of your idea, your design, right? And then, you know, lighting and rendering, of course, is important, unless you want to make an animation. So that's a bit more complicated, because, you know, you got camera movement. Yeah. Although I think creating animations is a little bit easier in terms of composition than creating still renders, because in still renders, when you look at the picture, you have a lot of time to look at one frame, and eventually your brain is gonna start finding issues. In a movie, the frames are so quick that you can get away with a lot. Of course, you know, the framing is important as well in composition, but it doesn't really concern every single frame. You can have boo-boos, you know, in terms of frames. Some frames can be really bad, and no one's gonna notice it because it's too quick. But the whole flow needs to be correct. So it's a bit different approach. But, you know, there you go. And so that's, you know, that's what I would say. You know, the most important thing is an idea. If you just sit there and I get messages like, you know, how do you do this? That, you know, I sometimes have so many ideas that I don't know which one to start with, and I just get frustrated and I start playing games or something. You know, like I go out or whatever. And you know, patience, yeah? This is what people like these days, patience, right? People like patience. Patience is so important that I cannot stress enough how much patience is important. If you don't have patience, don't even start. Okay. Because it's just no point. Yeah? Someone needs to have a lot of patience, because patience breeds perfection. Because when you have a lot of patience and passion, you will never stop until you know that you're happy. Because it doesn't matter if you're tired, or it doesn't matter if you have to render it for the 12th time. It doesn't matter, because you know that you need to do it, and you want to do it. So the will to do something, or the will to improve, the will to, you know, make it perfect, is the key to getting this stuff done properly. You know, people have no patience. This is really, really big problem, yeah?
Mhm.
especially now. Kids, they want only everything now, instant
Yeah,
gratification.
that's
Like
real deal.
I remember like when we were posting YouTube tutorials, and Josh, the other half of Blender Bros, said, dude, we need to make these movies as short as possible. I said, how short? And it's like 2-3 minutes. I was like, are you crazy? I mean, you can't do. I mean, I can't do that. It's just I can't do it. It's just this. How can I slice a mech? That takes hours of creating into 2 minutes videos. It's I couldn't even I couldn't even understand how can someone not be annoyed by a video being so short. See
Yeah,
my point? My thinking is completely 180 degrees the other side, because I don't give a damn how long the video is. All I care about what the content of the video is. I don't care if I have to sit. When I started learning Blender, I didn't know anything about Blender, and I was using add-ons like Hardops, Box Cutter, Mesh Machine, Decal Machine. I bought like 7 add-ons for Blender for hard surface, and I was learning Blender and the add-ons at the same time, starting from videos that were quite difficult to follow. But I I didn't really think that there's any other way to do it properly, because you just have to have
yeah,
patience. If you want to have results, you have to have patience. That's why only 1% of people succeed, because in the world, because they never they
Learn-
never when they fail, they do fail, but they never
yeah,
give
yeah.
up.
Absolutely.
It's not about how many times you fail, but it's all about this last time when you succeed. And some people are so close to success and just give
Hmm.
up, because I can't do it, it just takes too long. Or I get a job, and after 3 months they expecting promotion. This instant gratification has to stop, because this is what's killing quality. Yeah? This is why the games are
Yeah,
garbage, because people have no patience to study. Like writing requires a lot of knowledge, requires a lot of life experience. So writing for games used to be good, and now it's awful, because we have all these inexperienced kids that they just have, all they have is a
hmm,
vocabulary. Just exactly, see, like I told you, photography or like 3D, they have techniques, but they don't have the knowledge, and they don't have this workshop behind them, right? They have no experience,
hmm,
and lack of passion, lack of patience. This is the major problem today, I think. Lack of patience. So have a vision and a lot of patience. And if you have passion for something, then patience shouldn't be a problem.
yeah,
So waiting, it's like expecting gratification and expecting results is the killing, is what kills most of the careers, in my opinion, or successes.
yeah, absolutely.
Instead of focusing on succeeding, focus on actually improving, and success gonna come naturally. That's how it should be done.
That's
Yeah,
very important
but that's old
distinction.
school.
Yeah, yeah, you're completely right. Yeah. So, anything else that you would like to add for our audience? Something to finish this interview. Something that you would like to add to from things that you have said or talked before, concepts or ideas or anything else.
Well, that depends what the audience would be interested
Well,
in.
our audience is quite actually is quite it comes from many different areas. So um, we have audience that goes from students, undergraduate students, graduate students, uh, normal, people who is only interested but is not actually in the 3D visual scene. But we also have, and or we also expect people that are in the Blender and the 3D scene to attend our conference. So maybe something that you would like to add for in order. I mean, I'm sorry for being so uh, repetitive, but in order to achieve this and this high quality results, you know, this
I do, but it's gonna be harsh.
okay, no, go for it.
You have to stop caring about what other people say and think. And it includes your mom, dad, brother, friends. Because, you know, people will tell you what's good for you. People will tell you what's best for you. People, you know, parents will tell you, don't do this because, this is not a career, or don't do this one because maybe you're not going to be successful. It's not their bloody life. Do your own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the most important advice I can give you. And, you know, education these days, no offense, but it's awful. And, there's very few really good teachers who actually have passion for teaching. And teaching in general is exceptionally difficult because it's a way of teaching people who do not know something that you know very well, meaning you need to go down to their level without them actually feeling bad about it, and selling this very basic knowledge in a way that's gonna make them want to learn more. And it's a skill, it's a gift.
Yeah.
Right. And I can tell you that Josh has an exceptional gift for teaching. This guy is amazing, and I'm learning from him a lot as well. And it's so education questionable. I mean, I remember very few good teachers in my life. My calligraphy teacher was exceptional. He was just unreal. This guy, he had an exceptional ability of actually adjusting himself to any level, and his level was above the clouds. And as a grandmaster, he was teaching masters, so you can imagine. And at the age of 74, his knowledge was massive, and that's teaching for me, right? Teaching is guiding, is actually showing you the way, but not enforcing your own way. Like, parents usually what they want to do is just see themselves in you and trying to enforce something that they wished to be or they would like you to become, not necessarily what you really want. Even though they pick up on your hobbies and skills, it's not because they care about you and they want you to succeed, and they think they know better. But you remember the few generations back, yeah. So I would suggest this, you really need to sit down, right? I'm talking to everyone who's thinking what to do with their life. You need to sit down and think what you really want to do with your life. And if you don't, you need to search until you find it.
Right.
And don't stop searching, and don't listen to anyone who tells you differently because they just, full of it. You really need to search until you find it. And when you find it, literally kill everyone on your way that it's obstructing your way to your goal. Walk through them, because if you're going to give up on your dreams and on something that you were born to do, it's your death.
Sure, absolutely.
So that's, I think, the best advice I can give you guys. Just literally listen to your heart.
Right.
And I'm not saying not listening to people, because there are a lot of people who can give you a great advice. But remember, remember your path. Yeah. Don't be stubborn for the sake of being stubborn, but be firm and established in your goals.
Sure.
And then should be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But searching is important, because we always need to search around. We always need to search for new avenues of, I don't know, improvement, or like I did. I went through so many different things in my life. I eventually landed on 3D, and when I did, I was like, damn, that's it. And I was like, what, 44. Right? And most of the people in my age are just, have kids, have families, careers in companies which they probably hate, and they're wondering if they hate more their kids or the families or the careers, because the life is basically a mess. They realize that yes, they have money, but they're bloody unhappy. So you need to think how to get both.
Yeah.
And if someone does really something that they really like, there's no way they're not gonna be happy. And when you're happy, you can do anything you want, you see. So that's it. So if it's an art, it's an art. If it's an educational career, you know, it's an educational career. But it doesn't matter what you really choose. I would just say stay true to what you really think you should be doing. And if you don't know, just keep searching until you find it. Because that's what life is about. It's about finding purpose, right? Otherwise, you're just waiting to die.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this has
So it's a bit harsh, but you know, that's
no,
honest.
it's the truth, the truth, the real. So
It's too much wrapping, you know, it's too much coating these days, too much cushioning, too much of this, you know, soy culture. I hate it. It's just, things it needs to go back to where they were, you know, they need to be well defined. It's just too much fuzziness these days,
yeah,
right? It's just, I hate it.
not too much
You know, people
comfort.
just get offended about
Yeah,
everything. They just
that's
get annoyed with everything. You know, Rowan Atkinson, I don't know if you guys know him, probably do. Some of you don't. If you don't, think Mr. Bean. He's an exceptional British comedian. He said something very clever. He said that, you know, the best way to for our culture and society to go back to normal is to just simply allow people to say anything to anyone at any time, because then they're gonna grow the thick skin and everything's gonna become a joke again. And you know, back in the day, relationships were healthy because people could say anything they want to themselves, right? And this is exactly what's the problem now, because people are starting to lie to themselves because they want to fit in the society. Don't try to fit in, yeah? Because that's the worst thing you can do. You know, screw others. You can coexist with them, and you can be nice to, because you should be nice to people. You should be, you know, you should be supportive. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, don't try to fit in because you're gonna become a gray dot.
Yeah.
Right? Don't become a gray dot, because that's not how we improve. Society improves because people do things that are unimaginable, because they do things that are unacceptable. That's how we improve, because we break the rules, right? Like composition, you break the rules, and that's why you get great composition. You break the rules, and that's why you get, you know, great results. So you need to break the rules.
Correct. So
Right.
I think that this has been a very profitable interview. I'm very sure that it will be very useful and make a great impact to many people and many of our audience. So please let us know where can we find out more about your work, and if you have some ongoing projects, please tell us about it.
Well, I'm basically on, well, what my you mean my portfolios, or my website is ryuurui.com. I've had it for ages. It's the website when I started calligraphy, and it leads to all my portfolios. I got two folios. One of them is 3D concept art on ArtStation, and the other one is my art, all of my artwork on SmugMug.
Okay.
And these are my personal websites. And I also have other websites, but about Japan, you know, photography in Japan, etc. But I don't really use them. And no, now my main focus is Blender Bros, because this project is so massive that it literally consumes my entire time. And we do have a website, blenderbros.com, but we are currently building a new website. That, like I said, it's gonna become a forum for people. So for people who, you know, we want to build a platform for people to learn, to exchange knowledge, to meet, to exchange work, to get some critiques, to ask for advices, but also a future is gonna be a marketplace, and, you know, a place for people to buy resources, to buy courses, to get promoted, you know, probably some newsletter maybe is gonna be also possible, and we have quite a big, you know, quite big plans for the future. But this is my main focus right now. So creating educational materials for the 3D community in Blender.
Okay.
And I think, you know, that's about it. And if someone wants to get in touch with me, they can always send me an email, There are contact forms on both websites, so on my personal website and on blenderbros.com there is a contact as well.
Okay.
And I'm also on Facebook under the same name, so you can find me there. I'm literally everywhere.
Great.
So except for I can't get myself to use Instagram. I'm on Instagram, but I just hate this website. I hate everything about it.
Okay.
And Twitter, I just don't like it. It just gives me shivers, you know. Everything that is so laconic and disconnected from emotions is just... Facebook is killing me too, but Facebook is actually a good platform for connecting with people and
interaction.
Sort of, you know, quick interactions, yeah. But Twitter, you know, is very impersonal. I don't understand why people like this platform.
Maybe because of that, precisely because of that, right?
I am back from the days when we used to talk to one another in full sentences, you know. Now I was reading an article when young people are being offended by full stops, you know, at the end of the sentence. So I was like, well, that's the end of... That's why Elon Musk wanna go, you know, to another planet, because he just had enough.
Yeah. Well,
I don't blame
no,
you.
no. Well, thank you very much, Ryu. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for sharing all your experience, all your knowledge, and all these advices and all your and this your personal view and your personal perspective about the 3D workflow, which has been very, very useful and extensive. And we are very grateful for having you at this conference. We really hope not being the last time. And so if you have anything last to say to our audience, please go.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm not sure why you guys picked me, but, you know, I'm really grateful and hope I didn't bore you.
No, of course. Well, thank you very much, and we'll keep in touch.
Thank you. Thank you so much.